Shelby, I haven't traveled through space for 250,000 years to die like this. Don't let it be in vain. You know where the records are. Get them. Steal them if you must. Tell our story. We'll hold on here as long as I can. How can there be so much pain in paradise? No matter. I still believe I can win. Just tell our story.
For 100 years since our arrival here on New Earth, we have only our memories of 21st century old Earth. We have built a modern place in paradise far exceeding what we left behind. And our population of 100,000 has grown to nearly 500,000. Paradise is under attack from an old Earth enemy.
Hello, can anybody hear me? Hello, come back. Oh, man. Hello, can anybody hear me? I don't know if you can hear me. All right. I may have lost contact. Incoming, but outgoing may still be okay, so I'm going to keep transmitting. I collapsed the entryway behind me successfully. It's going to be a lot harder than I thought. But it's collapsed. And it's just Hiller and the rooms and me.
The day before Centennial Celebration Day, a special council meeting was held to consider my husband's petition to destroy this enemy.
You are aware of the format that we are?
Of course I am. After all, this is the 9th time I've testified about this.
Perhaps this time you'll have some different information to share with us that will make a difference, because we've been here before, and I personally believe that we have too much going on this week to revisit this, but it's within his right.
The council should have approved the execution of Henry Hiller at the very first hearing, 75 years ago. But here we are again, and at this time it is the last minute.
You are not likely to change my opinion, but I will listen and just keep an open mind.
You may be my friends, but don't expect me to be friendly here. You need to concur with Hiller's execution because it's the right decision, not because you're my friends.
I am here. I'm going to take part in the hearing. I have a big celebration that's going to take place tomorrow. I want to get prepared for it. I'll take and listen to all the information, and I'll make a vote. We've never killed anybody before, but I'm willing to listen.
Then listen well, and remember, you're placing yourselves on record. Rest assured, I will want even more the records curator to secure an official video copy of these proceedings, including the feed from the 4 of you remote members, before it can disappear. As for my immediate expectations, I need the committee's decision no later than this afternoon. So let's get on with it. I'm willing to talk from now, 10:05, until absolutely no more than 12 noon. That's more time than it should take. But I'm willing to go that long if you insist. Oh, rats. No lumen gels in this area, so it's pretty dark, so I'm not going to be able to do any video. It's really dark. Although I see some lumen gels, probably a quarter mile up there. At least something's glowing.
That you? This'll be fun. SAEL! Is that you?
Sorry, Hiller. I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of the conversation.
Come on! Talk to me! Hey! You know, I have these worms working for me now. Oh, by the way, did you bring a respirator? Sulfur's pretty strong in here.
Oh, man.
Hey! Say, are you okay? What'd you do? Collapse the entry tunnel? That was stupid. Hey! Are you dead?
Will you shut up?
We understand it's within these first few minutes that you initially encountered Henry Hiller, the man for whom you are now petitioning execution.
Yes. For 100 years, he has needed to be killed. And for the past 75 years, I have petitioned for it. You don't have to kill him. I've always been willing to do that. I just want official approval.
Not many people know this, but within 2 hours of arriving here on New Earth, Dr. SAEL said to Captain R, he said something along the lines of, I feel like I should kill the guy right now and burn his body down to the last chromosome. Everyone undertaking the voyage was hoping for a new start. Now they miraculously had it. Everyone wanted a chance to build a new world where bad things are only bad memories. So killing someone should not be an accepted option. The opinion, even after 100 years, remains, it was good not to start out paradise with a vicious action.
I found a pretty good place to hide while I assessed the situation. But I sure hope you've gone ahead and pressed the council for an immediate reconsideration.
Hey, SAEL! You still mad at me for killing your wife? Huh?
I really would like to have their approval to eliminate Hiller. Because of Hiller, my wife and I haven't held each other for these 75 years. When Elvie's out, it should be a second witness and will verify all that I've said. And to the need for Hiller to be a pile of burnt ash before the centennial is over.
When this hearing is over, a complete record will be made public. As you know, it's the rules of the government deliberations. The public will want to see evidence that you have been completely vetted for character and intention. After all, in the century-long history of man's new existence on Earth, you and you alone have requested the killing of another human being.
Really? Well, governmental inaction can kill just as surely. That was a major contributor to the death of my wife. This council's rejection of my request for Henry Hiller's destruction makes, in my judgment, the council an accomplice to the crime. That's my firm judgment, and there are many people who might well agree.
Hey, what's it like? You know, having so many people not like you.
We have an official complaint against you from a couple who lives in District 5. Can we run that?
Margot and I were deeply in love, just as we still are. I was a little older than she was, and for Valentine's Day, I purchased 2 sail away kits. I wanted something unique, but romantically young. She loved the idea, and we both wanted a new start.
My divorce had been filed, and I expected to be free to marry within a year. Broderick was getting ready to file for his own divorce, but he wanted to wait for the right time, when his last child was away at college.
I gather you two were having an intimate relationship?
Well, if you're asking if we had an affair, the answer is yes.
Yes.
I had purchased tickets on Flight 3 for both of us. The sail away investigators had interviewed us, and we were cleared to go.
But when Dr. SAEL reviewed our file, he, on his own, decided to accept only my application. Broderick's flight would have to wait until his divorce was complete. In his opinion, he doubted that Broderick would actually go through the divorce. SAEL did not want a reconstituted me, who had actually undergone the pain of divorce, to be subject to someone who, on old Earth, didn't.
I finally got out 6 years later on Flight 12. Now Margot and I are back together, but she has this nagging suspicion that I didn't actually get the divorce and that Margot and I didn't actually get married. But I would have had to. Otherwise, they would have never put me on the flight.
Problem is, I know from other people's cases that the fact that Broderick may not have divorced and that we may not have married could have slipped by a later investigation. And now, because of Dr. SAEL's interference with our initial plan, I have this doubt that casts a shadow over the relationship between the man I love and myself.
The two of us met with Dr. SAEL as a married couple and voiced this very same complaint to him.
And what was his response to that?
He glared at us for a moment, and then he got up and said, "You ungrateful wretches." And then he just walked away without saying anything. I couldn't believe it.
We just want people to be careful listening to Dr. SAEL because he has no problem imposing his own morals and judgments on any situation, sometimes where they don't belong.
I did not walk away without another thing to say. I just didn't say all of what I thought.
Well, how about now? Would you share with us that which you held back?
What I kept to myself was my opinion that Broderick was lying.
Don't lie to me, SAEL. You brought one of your guns with you, didn't you? They won't do you no good. You're trapped in here just like me. I know every crevice. And the wounds, they're not as friendly as you remember. My friend, I think you just shot another shadow. I'll catch you when you least expect it. I got plenty of time. It's only been 100 years here on New Earth. I have an eternity waiting here for me. King Henry Hiller. Hey, that sounds good to you. You can live too. Just join me. Come on, let's negotiate. I guess you don't want to do that. And you don't want to talk away your location. Well, can't blame you, but I'll be seeing you around.
So, we had suddenly appeared together at the entry of a cave into which we began to venture dressed in ponchos made from tearing holes in the strange cloth. Lining the cave were pockets of some sort of phosphorescence that lighted our way. After 100 yards, we came to a door. Anyway, that's when my husband first expressed his concern about the wounds, which is what we eventually called them.
I simply wondered, how was it the door knew our language? And that we should be asking not only how the womb understood our language, but also how it knew what was safe for humans to eat. I suggested that someone else might be living there, or was living there at one time.
I was doing okay until my husband emphasized the fact that somebody or something human-like was possibly already living here. He said, matter-of-factly, that they might show up sometime and discover that we'd broken into their womb.
About that time, we heard a strong rhythmic rumble. It was almost like the structure was coming to life. Then there was a continued series of mechanical sounds from behind the wall, which suddenly became a door.
I leapt away from the door and threw myself into Davis's arms. Soon after, the door slid open, exposing a large, hygienic-looking bathroom. Brenda went limp and crumpled to the floor.
I quickly decided that the place would assemble whatever we demanded, if there was a place not already in use for something else. As for other people or creatures being current residents, I really doubted it. My gut told me that the place had, for some reason, been long abandoned.
People looked puzzled by Davis's words. He took up a piece of fruit and bit into it, stating, and I will never forget his words.
Our keepers want us alive. But here's what I suspect. We've all been here for a long time before awakening altogether, all at once. In fact, our DNA samples must have been retrieved from space for some reason and made to grow up in this place while we slept. This womb knows a great deal about humans. At least that's my theory for now. I think that we have arrived in a near paradise. But I caution everyone not to lose track of things that might go wrong.
There you are. Yeah. I didn't see you when I went all the way at the other end of the tube. Coming or going? Good job hiding. Amazing. Hey, I found your stuff. Guess since you just left it lying around, you won't mind if I keep it. Looks like you're gonna make a recording. Well, maybe I'll just make a recording of what you look like dead.
Dr. SAEL felt that the womb was somehow watching the sailors to make certain they didn't make any defensive weapons.
I speculated to Elvie that the womb knew what we humans might do to each other if we had weapons.
I figure you're in here for the duration. You're trapped, you know. Not even close.
Yeah, I should have waited.
Funny thing about the echoes in here. It's hard to tell where the sound comes from.
Meanwhile, our colony Alpha was prospering and needed no formal government as far as I could see.
The people of Flight Alpha decided to formalize the leadership of the colony. It was at that time that Henry Hiller was first elected as head of the group. It didn't take long for people to realize that they had awoken to perfectly healthy bodies. The people of the colony simply woke up on New Earth exactly the same age and outward shape as when they had left Old Earth, but now they were in perfect health. This was first recognized by noticing how young even the elderly seemed to be. They took particular notice when they noted that Jacob Mendez was 84 when he left Old Earth, yet he seemed at least 30 years younger and in top condition even for the younger age.
New Earth, a child grows at the same pace experienced on Old Earth. However, age begins to slow starting around age 40. Aging then levels off at around age 55, so that by age 80, a person is fully aged.
Of course, we still get cuts and bruises from day-to-day living, but they all heal up pretty quickly with a modest amount of care. Of course, the doctors are still busy with routine things like the deliveries of babies, the births.
I noted that as sophisticated as the womb seemed to be, we could find no forms of automated transportation and electronic communication among all this super advanced technology. Nor would the 3D printers allow us to fabricate such items. There seemed to be something in their absence that didn't fit right, like we were being forced to stay put.
He's got the wombs making weapons.
My husband's concerns, perhaps we could even call them suspicions, increased rapidly with each passing day. He wondered why the cloth fabric that the womb made available to us was only in 3 colors that stand out in a natural environment. He was convinced that it was observing our images as well as our sounds.
The womb gives us everything we desire. And our reconstitution has apparently also given us perfect health. We're living in a blooming Shangri-La. It's almost shameful how lazy and dependent we have become from it all.
Raymond and Davis had several disagreements about Hiller. On one occasion, Raymond defended Hiller and the rest of the colony when Davis pointed out that our paradise and our perfect health was diminishing the work ethic of the people.
That the immediate need wasn't to argue about laziness. The urgent matter was that Hiller needed to be killed before he gained too much power. The sailors might have had perfectly complete, healthy bodies, but they totally lacked whatever else it might take to recognize and deal with evil.
Gosh! You idiot! You hit my arm!
You're lucky. If it wasn't so dark, I would have shot you right between the eyes. So, the womb makes weapons now, huh?
Yeah. Just for me. And they stand guard for me, too. I've been their boss for a long time.
You better get back inside that womb and take care of that arm.
In due time, I want you dead first.
Here's a question that a lot of people, particularly the birthers, have wanted me to ask, and it has to deal with Dr. SAEL's many idiosyncrasies. What would you say are his most notable?
Well, for one, he is the only person who used his 3D printer to build what some call non-hunting guns. We've all seen pictures taken inside of Dr. SAEL's house, and here we are. There are statues and pictures of angels everywhere, hundreds.
Dr. SAEL doesn't claim that the statues and the pictures are anything but notional.
Sure, there's more to it, as you know. He has pictures hanging on the wall that he claims are not notional. He says they are pictures of what angels really look like. He sees them as pulsing light spheres, changing colors in a slow heartbeat-like rhythm. He certainly has strong admirers for his insights and for giving us, without compensation, detailed knowledge of the electric tree. Not to say I'm not happy now, I am. But in the last several years, I myself think something is missing. I'm not sure what it is. I think the angel thing can help, though I'm not sure how.
Elvie seemed to be happy with me and with our relationship. But for me, it was like we were just doing good business together. Her passion for the idea of us was not as it was on old Earth. Frankly, I was lonely for the old Elvie. But at least she didn't ignore my concerns about Hiller and the wombs.
You might not know this, but I listened in on the council meeting, which you thought was secret. I can tell you don't believe me. Well, let me describe the details as we continue on with our little game here. Let's see.
Okay. I loved it when you told the council how you thought I was trying to set myself up as a king. Yeah. I bet it just made you crazy when the rest of the colony voted me as their leader.
I had no doubt that Hitler was establishing himself as king and was even looking for ways to make a deal with the forces behind the womb to help him out. I think these are themselves adequate reason for his execution.
Dr. SAEL, when and why did you leave the settlement at your original landing place?
The writings from the early days of Colony Alpha record a sudden departure by Dr. SAEL and a dozen others.
Remember when your little band of spirits left the colony? That's pretty impressive. Building steam engines. Yeah, the Wilms had no idea what you were up to.
I was sound asleep when Elvie awakened me. She was whispering excitedly about encountering a sphere.
But I wasn't surprised to hear him respond, "Sweetheart, that you can see that truth, that you've been touched by a sphere.
That you've been touched by a sphere. An angel. Your angel." We quietly, though quickly, rounded up our closest friends, along with a woman she hardly knew from before. We reached a place where all the parts for a spinning wheel and a loom were hidden. There also was a pair of flatboats, upon which we quickly assembled the 2 steam engines that we had secreted away during the past year.
Hitler had forged a letter that frightened the colony and painted Davis in an evil light. And of course, we had no way of knowing that at the time. Davis was disappointed that so few had seen the spheres. Altogether, only those in our group had encountered them.
The records show that besides Dr. SAEL and Elvie, his granddaughter and great-grandson went. Captain R went along even though his wife refused to go. That 5 was joined by Melody, a woman who had no relatives in the colony, Juan and LJ, 2 men who had worked with the original Sail Away rockets, went. The physician, Dr. Stone, and Matthew, the amateur astronomer, went also. And as you know better than anyone else, Dr. SAEL and Elvie was accompanied by a curious 1-year-old boy.
Hey, SAEL! How's your son doing? I bet he turned into a fine young man full of virtue and promise. I remember when he was born. Oh, see, he's got to be 100 years old now. He's following his daddy's
He's actually a long way off.
Saint.
More than 2 wombs away, probably. I wonder who screwed up the intercom network switch in the council meeting. Hey, Hitler! You want me dead? Why don't you just hide in one of the wombs till I die out here?
You'd like that, wouldn't you? Even though the wombs work for me now, you'd be able to reprogram them. Now I gotta make sure you're dead. I'll see it with my own eyes.
The womb was structured exactly like what we had developed with the 3D printer back at Colony Alpha. There was even a crib for our baby boy.
I felt that we had discovered something more than just another womb. It was clear to me that there was probably lots of wombs, towns really, all built underground for a very special purpose. Maybe war bunkers or survival shelters for some other reason.
Only when we got outside did Davis tell me an additional conclusion he had reached.
Remember, we had the Colony Alpha womb make some special things for us. Those are duplicated in this womb. But the only way for womb alpha to be so well replicated in this other womb is that they are talking to each other.
How would they know we were headed this way?
I thought something had been following us the previous week and probably reported back to womb alpha.
After 2 weeks traveling over rough ground, several of the men started whispering to each other that our group was being followed by some sort of a large animal.
Penny and I drifted to the rear of our group and slid into a narrow slot between some rocks. The rest of our cadre kept walking without knowing we had gone.
I suddenly realized that Davis and Penny had disappeared. Images of some large animal we had passed flashed through my mind. Then there was an outcry from Penny, garbled and not intelligible.
LJ, Juan, and the other men rushed in the direction of Penny's outcry, ready to counterattack any threat.
Penny's voice was clear as she came toward us. "He's here! He's here!" There was a pause until Penny realized the men were about to attack her cousin, Alan.
Alan had not come alone. His companions, however, had run off back to Colony Sigma as soon as Penny and I jumped them.
Alan and Penny told us that when Davis and Penny sprung on them, they were surprised. But one of them, a big guy, recognized Davis and tried to kill him.
The man attacked Dr. SAEL because he was afraid of him.
Hey! Remember when you and the spirits took off? I told everybody, you were a space alien?
Yeah, I remember that. I didn't appreciate it.
I just thought, what better way to hunt you down, get all the colonies to hate you, turn against you, and track you like an animal.
Well, it seemed to me like a pretty easy sell back then for a Hiller type to make me out as an alien abductor. Maybe I'm monitoring them with the devices in the womb. Plus, they aren't whole. They haven't connected with the spheres. So they lack a certain ability to judge.
At the time, we didn't know how Henry Hiller had managed to get past the sail away screening tests and get on board every one of the 24 launches. Now we know how he managed such a trick. And the outcome of his deception was that every colony had a clone of Henry Hiller as their leader. And all of the colonies north of Alpha began to unite under the ruthless band of 23 Hillers, with the Flight Omega Hiller as the lead and the rest as close lieutenants.
Hey, SAEL! You hear that?
Hear what?
Daniel was the first to spot the several sailplanes coming towards us as, a couple months later, we were crossing a wide prairie. Everyone took cover, but it was hard to hide because we still had our bright clothing.
The aircraft circled above us several times, then left.
Hiller would use fear of me as the reason to get people to follow his commands.
If they could be convinced to think that SAEL was an alien that was going to do something awful to them and to their families, then the men of the Allied colonies would be relentless in hunting us down.
We ran hard, but the next several weeks we were followed by gliders. We began taking more seriously the need to make our own clothing fabric and to discard the bright clothing. It was difficult to do that and keep running at the same time.
One day several gliders came overhead at a slightly lower altitude than normal, and sharp, small, hollow spears rained down on us. We dodged for cover, but Daniel got a spear through the calf of his leg, and Matthew got speared through his side, all the way through his abdomen.
Daniel was clearly going to be okay. So Dr. Stone focused his work on Matthew's gut, which got infected and festered painfully for several days before he died. One morning when we were on the opposite side of the mountains from the colonies, another armada of gliders passed silently overhead at daybreak.
After the sailplanes left, we came out of hiding in the distance wearing our new, naturally colored clothing, the product of our hand spinning and weaving. Daniel pointed and hollered that one of them was coming back. It was going to land.
Christina, the pilot, and her daughter leapt from the plane as soon as it came to rest. Christina and Jamie joined our group as we hurried overland further to the northwest.
We were soon laughing together, and I said, "Apparently, Christina, you don't believe the Hiller's story about my husband being an alien monster."
Though she added that there actually was some sort of monster on the planet.
Davis wandered off by himself, exploring a few hundred yards from the rest of us in a wooded area having intermittent spots of fruit and nut trees. He was picking some small fruit when he heard a sound above him. Our dog smelled something unusual and started barking frantically. The creature responded by giving off a curdling scream. It headed off toward the thicker woods, looking back only for a quick stare. Little Jamie heard wild barks and howls from the dogs, heard the creature shriek, and saw the monster in the open field.
Christina also reported seeing a very large body of water further to the west than where we were. From high altitude, she estimated the water's edge was perhaps 150 miles away. We headed towards it. About halfway, we came across another tunnel that led to a womb. And because storms were raging, we decided that we'd stay inside.
For several hours that night, we heard loud banging on the womb's entry door. And the next morning, Dr. Stone and Raymond ventured into the tunnel and found many large, disturbing footprints in the mud at the tunnel's entrance.
Besides the footprints, we found claw-like marks, particularly on the high points near the ceilings, right? And scratchy mud prints.
It was apparent that whatever was outside the door during the night was something the womb didn't think should come in. Something not human.
My charges seem to have done their work. Our steam is getting more and more invasive through the walls. I just heard the other chambers start to collapse. I've got to keep Hiller busy so he doesn't retreat, into a womb. Elvie, I haven't traveled through space for 250,000 years. Like this. You know the records. You know where they're at. Get them. Steal them if you must. Tell our story. I will hold on here as long as I can. Oh. How can there be so much pain in paradise? No matter. I still believe I can win. Just tell our story.
2 years had passed since our escape, and 4 years since our arrival on Earth, but we were still in paradise.
During our travel, we detected signs that the Allied colonies were quickly expanding their reach. We might even be attacked by land.
All the Hiller clones knew that I must be somewhere on New Earth. And they wanted to find and neutralize me as soon as possible.
For the first 4 years, no one knew with authority where New Earth was in the vast scheme of the cosmos. That discovery was finally made by what Dr. SAEL calls a providential choice of stopping points.
We spherics decided to stop running. We voted to establish an outpost at the edge of the ocean and make whatever defense stand we needed. We had not had an overflight for months.
A few weeks later, Penny came to me saying, "Grandfather, I think we need to find a cave to use as a hiding place we can go to within a day or two from here. There are plenty of mountain peaks to serve as landmarks for us to find our way back and forth.
When Davis and Penny began looking around at the peaks, I saw Davis's facial expressions go from a sudden puzzlement to amazement. He began bringing to Penny's attention 4 not too distant peaks.
Penny's immediate response to my pointing was, "That's impossible." I quickly pulled her aside and instructed her, "Say absolutely nothing to the others, but let's investigate. We'll leave tomorrow morning early."
I was concerned as I waved goodbye to Davis, Penny, Allen, and Dr. Stone, but I understood the necessity of their expedition.
If my discovery proved true, then everything would change.
Everything was at stake, even how we might rally the people to resist the Hillers.
2 days later, we arrived at a cave entrance, but not like the entrance to a womb, a narrower slot than I expected. But Penny agreed that it must be what we were looking for.
In the cave, SAEL and Penny found something that was frozen into the wall where they had left it. That was what we now know to be 250,000 years previous. It was Davis's journal number 7, and an addition which was not his.
At first, I couldn't decipher the addition, but then I did, and then I understood where we are, how we got here, and how we might rid ourselves of all of Henry Hiller's clones, except the one that had taken charge of Colony Alpha.
We learned that the only way to undo the presence of all the Henry Hillers was to undo the fact that they had come at all.
Hey, Hiller! I'm at a womb door. How do I get in?
Oh, let's see. Sorry. I can't remember.
It's okay. No need. I'm feeling better. Anyway, how about you? Yeah. That arm giving you fits?
Come on, SAEL. Just a little closer.
Our discovery confirmed that the new Earth is the old Earth.
Okay, I'm not getting out of here. And I can't get a response. So I'm switching to Vox. Hiller's just ahead of me, somewhere in the dark. I just have to have faith that you will go ahead with our plan. Get to Mutant Island.
The new writings revealed what had happened to the old Earth. And that's still a secret known only to Davis, me, and a very few others.
One day, just to the east of where we now sit in this hearing room, where the woods come near to the beach, we looked up and saw a lone sailplane. The pilot was Michael, the man who eventually married Penny. He had come to warn us that our place had been discovered a month earlier.
Davis was greatly relieved to hear Michael say without reservation that all of the Hillers only liked cozying up with other Hillers.
You never told me how you listened in on the council meeting.
Uh-oh. Sounds like you're getting closer. Be careful. Might have a big surprise on the way.
I don't think you're that smart.
You have no idea how smart I am.
Okay, so how'd you do it? Eavesdrop on the meeting.
Michael also informed us that some of the larger wounds had chambers that the physicians could use to heal injuries.
From Michael's detailed descriptions, Dr. SAEL theorized that the healing chambers could be used to reconstitute people from their DNA if given enough time.
And we then renamed the healing chambers.
Yes, after Dr. SAEL's modification to the regimen, they became known as incubators.
Late in the afternoon, Michael boarded his sailplane for a return to the Allied colony's headquarters. He had agreed to give a false report that his plane had been seen by the spherics and that they had moved away towards the east.
Before Michael left, he commented that from the air, he had seen the Earth populated with an uncountable number of glowing spheres.
Before the comm line got shut down, I tapped into the editing room. Hit the audio part of the editing net. I'll tell you piece by piece what went on. By the way, I also know that your wife and that attorney guy are editing some kind of documentary about me. I'm flattered. Anyway, she sounds good. Yeah, bet she looks good too. You were lucky you were able to secure some of her DNA for incubation. I think I'll take her as one of my concubines when I get out of here.
Okay, it's almost noon. You have again heard my account. There are about 10 minutes left to ask me whatever else you want to know.
Is the rumor true that you know how, by whom, and why the old Earth travelers were reconstituted here on New Earth?
Yes, but I'm not at liberty to say until after Hiller's destruction.
Is it true that you have hidden away some kind of writing?
Yes, again. But by mandate of the source of that information, I have been commanded to secrecy regarding its contents for the first 100 years after our awakening.
Is the rumor true that you have worked out a technology for passing external memory to DNA?
Yes, but for reasons I've stated several times, I'm not going to give this out until after Hiller's destruction.
Do you plan to use it when LV exits the incubator?
Yes.
Is it true that you have worked out a way to accelerate the reconstitution time?
Yes, but for reasons stated again and again, I'm not going to give out this information until Hiller's destruction.
Now, Dr. SAEL, isn't it true that you only want vengeance on Hiller for killing your wife?
Absolutely not.
Dr. SAEL, you testified at Hiller's trial that at that time only he, you, and LV knew about the electric tree. You said Hiller killed your wife because he didn't want anyone else to know about that tree. Tell us, would you have given the information away willingly if you were not forced to tell about it?
That is an insulting question. It's now high noon. I'm through giving testimony. I have given you several reasons for Hiller's execution. When Henry Hiller has been executed and all of his DNA destroyed, I'll tell you many additional and startling things. But first things first.
My husband left the council to reach its conclusion, and sitting outside the chamber door, he didn't have long to wait.
My decision is based on the fact that we have never executed a person on New Earth before, and my decision is not to execute.
I'm going to change my mind, and I'm going to be in favor of execution.
So, my vote is no.
I vote against Henry Hitler's execution.
The council gives its decision 4 in favor to 3 against. This is not adequate to authorize Hiller's execution. I'm sorry.
What'd you do, SAEL? Set off a whole bunch of charges and trap us in here?
No, it's not about cave-ins. It's about steam. Really hot steam.
You manipulated my tremor system?
Sound waves, yes. You won't be able to do any more house quakes.
I was awakened by the rattle of everything in the house, and then things started falling off shelves.
If it happened during the night, a lot of people would have been killed. I mean, that pile of rubble over there is my house. It was my house.
None of us are gonna be here. I'm gonna die.
Davis, I have delivered my enemies into your hands. You shall make no covenant with them, nor show mercy, for they are wicked. Davis.
Lord, you have been my shepherd. I have never had to do with any lesser thing. Even in my trials, you have given me peace, as you do now. And it was you who, in this new world, as in the old, gave me communion with my soul. You have loved me so. Though I am in the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, and you have prepared my way.
He's dead, but his DNA it's everywhere. You know, there is only one way. LV, never, please never, let me hear this recording, this final recording. Just remember what I told.
In sleep last night, a vision came to me of a world gone mad and an earth in need. But then I heard a whispered call, sail out.